SkyBoxx.
Welcome to the SkyBoxx.
It's me, Michael C., the source of life over the mic. My guests and I will share our stories and experiences. Now on the show today we have Dr. Jaimie Foster, and we're going to talk about the HBCU school she attended and how it impacted her life, and much more. Sit back and relax. I guarantee you this is going to be a good one. You already know what time it is. Let's go get 'em.
We got it.
Ha ha! We're back! We're back! You already know who it is. Michael C., the source of life, over the mic. I just want HBCU, stand up. Education, stand up. When it comes down to this woman, I'm going to say right now, in the short amount of time that I've met her, it's been nothing but sunshines and rainbows, to be 100. Which she's intelligent, smart, gifted, and definitely educated. I want to introduce to you Dr. Jaimie Foster.
Hello, how are you, sir?
How you doing, girl? Welcome to the SkyBoxx.
Hey, on the SkyBoxx. Good to be on the SkyBoxx. Thank you for having me.
You already understand. Let's get right into it.
Sound good. Sound good.
HBCU.
All day.
Which one did you go to?
The Tuskegee University, the pride of the swift growing South.
Go get them. You already know what it is. So let me ask you this: your influences.
Sure.
Becoming a doctor.
Yeah.
Who would that be?
There are several. First and foremost, my great-grandfather, Reverend R.M. Reeves Sr. Man was 67 years old when he earned his bachelor's degree. Went back to college, earned his bachelor's degree. First church in Pittsburgh to be a polling place for African Americans. Had the first all-black Boy Scout troop in Pittsburgh. So man was just a trailblazer. Then my aunt, Catherine Christopher, my grandmother's sister, first black nurse in Pittsburgh. But my family, it just was what it was.
Right.
No hoopla, none of that.
Right.
And then finally, my biggest influence actually were my students. When I first started teaching, I was 22 in a high school. And then I transitioned to instructional coaching probably about 7 years after being in the classroom and working with teachers, middle school math teachers. And my principal said, you got a gift. Like, you can move students, you can move teachers.
And I have seen that, ladies and gentlemen. I have seen that personally.
But the way that you get wholesale movement is with a doctorate. And I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that. He's like, I'm telling you, you put a doctor in front of your name, people will listen to anything you say just because you're a doctor. But your level of influence right now, in the 7 years of you teaching 175 students a year, you've influenced 1,100 students. You've influenced 60 teachers in this building. What happens when you put the doctor behind it and then you write something or you post something?
Right.
Your influence and your impact is tremendous. And at the time it was a grapple, like, wow, do I step out and now like transition central office? Do I become a principal? What do I do? And it was like, well, I want to learn more. So let's go for the doctorate. And next thing you know, I'm in a program, and honestly, for my own story, 10 years later, I'm a doctor.
Go get them.
Yeah.
Why education?
Education, hands down, is the greatest equalizer. Hands down is the greatest equalizer. It will trump race. It'll trump your socioeconomics. It'll trump your gender. Now, don't get me wrong. Is there still racism, systemic racism, institutional racism? Is there still that glass ceiling that women have to bust through and outright break? Absolutely. But when I have a piece of paper behind me, not only do I have my street smarts,
right,
I have my theory And then education offers me the application to be able to now connect the dots and be more. It's all about the privilege. It's all about choice. When I don't have education, my options become work or work.
Right.
Military.
Right.
I'm down to 2 or 3 choices. But when I'm educated, I can still go to military. I can still work. But maybe now I own my own business, but I've got 2 business courses underneath my belt. So yeah, I'm a hairstylist for now. I'm doing booth rent for now, but I already got my business plan written. So in 6 years, it's not just a guess. I've got the actual theories behind best business practices that I'm now about to apply. So now I own my business. I own my business. So it becomes options of what I want to do with myself and the legacy I leave for my family, my kids, my spouse, my nieces, my nephews, my cousins, whatever. Like that's what education does.
I know that's right. It just pretty much, like you said, it just opens the door to so many opportunities.
And when we're talking Black, brown, poverty, generational poverty, lots of times education feels like it's not for me. I'll never get there. My family has lived in the projects. My grandmother lived, my mother lives. Now I got a spot. I'm never going to be anything. I'm not saying that you got to get a bachelor's, but you can go to trade school.
Right.
You can get an associate's.
Right.
You can get a certificate. And then you go work at Amazon. You go work at Google. Maybe at the first level, let them pay for your education. Now you got an associate.
Right.
Then next thing you know, you got a bachelor's. That might take you 6 years, but when you look back, those 6 years flew by. And now, because you got all this experience, you're not coming at entry level. I'm bringing you in at the manager's level because now you've got the degree that says, yes, you can be that. And just that fast, you've broken that generational cycle of poverty in your family. You've shown your younger brothers, sisters, cousins, kids on the street, I'm Black, I'm brown, I can do this thing called life. I can be successful. I don't necessarily have to live in the projects because it's my only option. I might choose to live here, and I'm not saying that now I got to abandon my people, but I can move somewhere where my kids can go to school and I feel comfortable about where they go to school. I'm not worrying about is the education solid for them.
Right.
I'm breaking not just my own cycle, but my kids' cycle and their kids' cycle all at once. And I don't even really realize it.
And it sounds like the way, because I've heard it on I Am Athlete, and the guy was talking about like generational wealth, on how does it, when it comes to our people, generational wealth always goes down.
Yes.
But it's supposed to go
up.
Up.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
But that's interesting. When we're looking at, because I'm listening to you, you have this confidence that it literally, you can just see it just oozes up to everybody. It comes down throughout the building.
That's crazy. But I thank you for that.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Was it going to an HBCU and mixed with who you are, did that have anything to do with it?
My Tuskegee experience was the best 4 years of my life. I cried like a baby the day I left. I can remember on a Tuesday. My mom drove me around. I read her card and bawled my eyeballs out. Tuskegee was the first place where I saw straight up rich Black people. I'd never seen, and I grew up in the suburbs of Pittsburgh. I saw people who hustled, like, and I don't mean like drugs, but I mean like, I'm working this job and we working hard and whatever.
Right.
Like, but I never saw an 18-year-old driving a Lexus coupe because your dad owns his own practice in medicine and your mom is a chemist. Like, the Cosby Show became real. Tuskegee literally is like the mantra is the pride of the swift growing South. Because when you read about our history, started by Booker T. Washington, who walked from West Virginia to Hampton, Virginia to attend Hampton University. And then when Samuel Armstrong said, look, we need to go start a school, like Lewis Adams, who's the other, like the ultimate founder of Tuskegee, who got that money from the land grant at the time when literally the government's realizing we got Black people and we owe them, but we ain't giving them no, like, we're not doing reparations, but we'll do land grants. So that's why you see all of these HBCUs, 1860s to the maybe 80s and 90s, I'm gonna give you
land.
a rack of money. I'm gonna give you land, and you're gonna have to build it and make it. So Tuskegee started off as Tuskegee Normal School, and then they built it, and it became this place where you learned. And I'll say Booker T. Washington can get a bad rap because he wasn't from a place of like W.E.B. Du Bois, from a place of like, no, black people need to tear down these walls and make it.
Like on a Marcus Garvey.
Yes, where Booker T. Washington was like, if what we live in is segregation, we getting ready to work segregation to us.
Right.
So we getting ready, like, take these 5 fingers as separate as they are, but when you put them together as a fist, and then I learn how to make stuff, we gonna build. So there's whole buildings still on my campus that were built by Tuskegee students.
Right.
Food that we ate came from the farm, like legit.
Oh.
They like raised the animals that the veterinary people, like for vet students, because Tuskegee is the largest African American HBCU vet program in the nation. 75% of African American veterinarians graduate from Tuskegee University with that degree. But when you're talking that, you're like, no, there's no such thing as camp. Like, that was the first place where I saw black people straight up dress up and not for church. Like, when you go to class, just to go to class, like, you might not be suited and booted, but you looking your best. You're not just going to class looking any kind of way, and to like celebrate your blackness.
But they're taking pride in. We've seen a lot of taking pride in.
Legit, and don't get me wrong, like my New York dudes and my Philly dudes who walked around in their Timbs with their collars popped, you know, and their camo and whatever, but they were still about their business.
Right.
And it was a place straight up, and I didn't know it until I went to a PWI for my master's. When I went to University of Pittsburgh, that the bar for Tuskegee was excellence, period. I'm going to work you like a dog, but I'm going to help you to get there. I had my actual influence, if I actually thought about it, for education was from Tuskegee. It was the place where I had professors who were like, Jaimie, you got a 56, chick. Like, what you going to do? And I remember my first professor were in a class, I was straight up failing, 55 in organic chemistry. Dr. Pritchett, who's passed away, but dude was straight up like, it's just like making Kool-Aid, a little this, a little that, you put together, boom. I was like, Dr. Pritchett, that ain't it. He was like, you take every test every week until you pass them. For what? He was like, because there's power in error. You figure out where you're wrong and you get it right. And I'm like,
don't come with the problem, come with the solution.
And that's where I get as a leader. Don't complain to me. Like, put the grind in. Let's roll our sleeves up. Let's find a solution. But that place taught me resilience. It taught me there's no such thing as mediocrity. It taught me my word is my bond. It taught me you got one time to make a solid impression, so you better knock that bad boy out the park. And it taught me you don't bow down for nobody.
Go to YouTube. Hit that like and subscribe button. It's only $3.99. $3.99? Are we only on YouTube? Nope. Are we on Google? Yep. How about Anchor? Yep. Are we on Spotify? Yep. How can they find us? Search the SkyBoxx. Thank you for watching the SkyBoxx. And also, hit that like and subscribe button. Remember, it's only $3.99. And click one of these 3 videos that relate to the SkyBoxx. And also, be good to yourself, y'all.